if someone were to ask you timetable wise, when would you want to have the next record out? Would it be next year? Sometime around then?
No, this year.
So this year. Okay, cool.
That's what we're working towards. Now, that's if everything goes our way.
Yeah.
But yes, we're working towards that already. I'm already working on scheduling the first recording sessions, and finalizing stuff. All of the rhythm guitar tracks for the whole album are finished. I'm done with them. Most of my guitar solos, I'm done with them. So a lot of it's already complete in a way. It's going to be a matter of, getting in and getting the drums recorded, and then getting everybody else to do their parts, instruments, and, and the vocals and everything. And then, we sort of have a head start on it because I have all the guitar, well, not all, but 90-something% of the guitar tracks finished already. So what I'm doing over the next couple months before we have our one-off show in Chicago, is I'm going to be working on trying to finalize the rest of the guitar tracks, and then start working on whatever other pieces need to be done. I've got a couple of songs where the vocals still need to kind of be reworked a little bit, but like I said, I mean, 2/3 of it we could go into the studio right now and record it.
Wow, that's really good news. I always because when I ask that question, I always ask, how long is it going to take to record it? And then because merchandise, depending on how many bands clog the system, can take quite a while as well. I mean, if like Taylor Swift or Adele go out and make like 12 varieties of their next record, it's going to clog the system up, right? I mean, and or you can get the stuff done pretty quickly. So I always look for the worst case scenario. So it'd be great if it came out this year. That would be awesome. But
I mean, worst case scenario, I would expect that we'd have the first single from the record out at the very least. But but I'm actually hoping that we have a song or two out before that.
Yeah, sure.
I've got stuff that's in the works already. A song I was just working on that we're talking about maybe releasing that won't be on the record, that might be a single before the record comes out. So my goal is to get away from what the band has done in the past, and in terms of how we've released music, and release music frequently, like really frequently. Yeah, possibly multiple times a year, where if we have a new song or whatever, just something new out there all the time, because that's the way of the future. And the band has worked at a snail's pace in the past, and I want to pick up the pace. So
yeah, I don't blame you. And I would be honest with you, I'm pretty excited to hear that, because again, there's so many circumstances that have held things back for you. But I really believe, like I said this in my podcast episode, I was talking about how a lot of these thrash bands, some of the older ones that were around for a long time, are just cranking out some of these albums. These albums are sound pretty good. They are pretty good. And I've always said that you guys, when I was talking about the two releases, just how good these albums are, that you're right up on par with a lot of these bands from a quality standpoint, from the production to the songwriting. I mean, I remember when Evolution of Chaos, I remember when that album came out, and I was like blown away by the first song you put out, that was put out. It was like the early days of YouTube, if you think about it.
Dying Season.
Yeah, it was Dying Season. I remember hearing that, and I was like blown out of the water by that song. And
that ridiculous zombie video.
Correct. I remember, going back. But it is correct. It is different because, now when you look at the promotion of an album, people have to pick singles, and a lot of times you pick really to kind of go at it. You have 3-4 singles, and you put them up, every so often, just to kind of stay relevant. And you got bands going out doing videos of what they wrote the song about, but really it's whoever puts the most content really gets the most exposure at this point, because, or at least the chance of that, because it's, again, everything's different than it was even 10 years ago.
It's kind of like back to the days when the Beatles would release a single, and then another single, and then another single, and then after a while they'd put it all together on an album. Yeah, that's kind of what's happening now. Not necessarily in the metal world, but in hip hop and pop and every other genre.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, people are doing that because that's the way the Spotify algorithm works. And
Okay.
even though Spotify doesn't pay us shit, it is the biggest streaming service, and people are tailoring their delivery of music to that kind of, to that platform.
Yeah.
And YouTube also. I mean, having a music video for this single, for example, has been extremely helpful. We probably have gotten more traction from the video than just the audio. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And part of that is because the first time that people hear music is on YouTube for the
Yeah.
most part. So if you have a video where there are people in it from the band, the chances that people are going to go watch the video or at least listen to it are higher.
Yeah.
We were at already over 80,000 plays for the music video in 8 days or whatever. So,
Yeah.
it's
And yeah, and
doing
I get that, because when I get press releases from publicists and a single comes out, ironically, at least just this is for me, they may have a download of it, they may have whatever for it, but most of the time, if I want to go listen to it, I'll click on the link to wherever that song is at, usually on YouTube, and I don't even bother downloading the track. I actually go and listen to it there.
right.
And the thing is, people don't understand that Spotify, aside from the fact, I mean, yeah, it doesn't pay bands a ton of money, but that's that's one of the big metrics that people use to judge a band's audience.
Absolutely is. Yeah.
It really is. And there's different algorithms. Like for my show, for example, when I started doing an actual regular show, video show, I mean, I'll record one 45-minute episode. I'll upload it, but then I actually chop it up into 4 pieces and put those videos up separately, because if you ever look at like the average view of a video, usually I think on my channel, it's about 9 minutes is like the average view.
Sure, makes sense.
Yeah. And you have to get into the algorithms, and Spotify and a lot of these other things are basically the same thing. So that's one of the things that's changed a lot. But I go right to the YouTube link. When people send me these press releases or an electronic press kit before they give me the full album, I mean, it is a much different thing, but it's cool though, because then you keep your name out there. And
Yeah.
I've always said Heathen is a band that is very good. It's a matter of exposure.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's what we are hoping to change. And, by releasing music more frequently, and plus, I mean, realistically, you look at any of the legacy bands. I mean, some of these guys are in their 60s already, and like, how much longer are you going to play thrash metal? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and do it well. I mean, not it's almost like athletes when they overstay their welcome and they can't do it like they used to. And I don't think any of us want to be like that. We want to get as much music out of us as possible and play as many places as possible before the game is over.
Yeah, it's not like thrash metal is like the easiest stuff to play as far as your body is concerned, right? I mean, as a guitar player, you got to have a pretty good right hand on the guitar to really be able to play a lot of this stuff, especially from a rhythm standpoint. And I mean, I'm always surprised when I go and see a band and these guys are like in their 60s, and for a minute I'm watching, and it depends on who it is, but I watch bands that are in that age group, and sometimes you can tell that they shouldn't be doing that, but then there's bands you're like, dude, is this guy ever aged? It's like you run into that. And I mean, I get it. I totally understand where you're coming. Hey, everybody. Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching. And if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video. And if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.